I told you to make large diagrams. You might not make them quite as large as mine, but you want to make sure that on every page you have the text that you're diagramming, so that if it gets lost, you'll be able to know where it goes. And then on the left side, you want to keep track of what verse is on that page. And now we're ready to go. Are you ready? Say we're ready.
We're ready.
Can you in the back see the screen okay, or do we need to turn off this upper light? Hello? It's okay? They say it's okay. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
All right. All right. Now don't you guys, can you guys up front say
Yeah.
okay? Yes, sir.
Pull it down a little bit.
Do what?
Pull it down a little bit.
Well, that's right. That's we got to have the most of the screen there.
Okay, cool.
It won't come down, so I'm not going to. We'll keep it in the. Okay. Are you ready? Say we're ready.
We're ready.
All right. Have to supply a verb in the first one. The elder writes or sends. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I want no questions this first time through. No questions. I will anticipate what your questions are. And I've been teaching this course for over 40 years, so I pretty well know what questions are going to be asked. But you have to supply a verb for the first sentence of the text. And that can be writes or sends or says or greets or whatever you want, whatever verb makes sense. But whenever you supply a word, you must indicate that by putting it in parentheses. Okay? So the elder writes. To whom does the elder write? He writes unto Gaius. What Gaius? The Gaius. What Gaius? The well-beloved Gaius. What Gaius? The Gaius I love whom. And where does he love whom? He loves whom in the truth. What truth? The truth. So it's that verse 1, the elder writes unto Gaius, the well-beloved, I love whom in the truth. All right? Verse 2 continues. I've got too much to get. Let me put this over here with you. Keep it upside down like that. All right? So it'll be right side up. All right. Verse 2 starts with a vocative, beloved. Beloved. Beloved is not a verb, it is a participle actually, but it's a vocative, so it's a name. It functions as a noun, but it's an address. This is what he is calling Gaius. Beloved, I wish above all things. And what is it that you wish? I wish that. Well, what is the that you wish? Double-headed arrow indicating apposition. I wish that thou mayest prosper and be in health, in good health, even as thy soul prosper. So I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, good health, even as thy soul prospers. He wishes that Gaius may prosper financially and prosper physically just as much as he does spiritually. And I wonder if we were as rich financially and had as good a health physically as we do spiritually, how many of us would be paupers? How many of us would be invalids? So that's the goal is, the measure is spiritual health. All right, going on to verse 3, we'll come back to these. Oh, I forgot to show you that. Let me have that one. Again. Thank you. Oh, good. Notice this sentence is connected to the next sentence, and we show it by doing the conjunction of the following verse. I wish that for And this, we know that our thought goes on to the next verse. And with the next verse, it comes on. We paint it on to the deal. And if you have an opaque paper, then it overlaps as a single construction. Isn't that neat? Say that's neat.
That's neat.
Okay. For I rejoiced. How did you rejoice? Greatly. When did you rejoice? When the brethren came and testified. What did they testify about? Of truth. What truth? The truth. What truth? The truth that is where? In thee. Why did you rejoice greatly? Even as thou walkest in the truth. You see? So here you have three modifiers. You have the fact of his rejoicing, the extent of his rejoicing, the time of his rejoicing, and the cause of his rejoicing. Isn't that neat? Say that's neat.
I guess.
Okay. So you see how a diagram takes and puts into clusters the things that go together, and it's much easier to move to your outline. By the way, I got an email just as I was on the way to class. I just about didn't do this, but I checked my email just to see if anything had come in. And there came in an email from a student that I had back in 1978. And he's with MacArthur schools out in California. And he wrote and said, Doc, I don't know whether you remember or not, but I had your classes, graduated in 78 from Grace Seminary, and he said, I used the system that I learned. He called it in Homiletics 1, that's what we called it there, but it's inductive Bible study. I use it every day that I preach. Says the best thing I ever learned. How about that? That's really gracious to do that. And I hope to get an email from some of you 10, 15, 20 years from now. You may have to send it to heaven, but that's okay. I'll pick it up there in my email box in heaven. It'll probably be an H box up there, won't it? Heaven box? An H box. Yeah. Okay. All right. For I rejoice greatly. All right, put this one over here. And let's go to verse 4. All right, verse 4. I have joy. That's easy. I have joy. No greater joy. Greater joy than what? To hear. To hear what? To hear that. And what is the that he hears? That my children walk in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in the truth. Is this easy?
No.
Say this is easy.
No. Not
Sure
really.
it is. All right. Verse 5. Another beloved. That's very key to watch when these occur. Beloved. Again, evocative. So it does not. Beloved. Thou doest faithfully. And what is it that he doest faithfully? Thou doest faithfully, thou doest whatever. And who does he doest whatever to? To the brethren and to strangers. What brethren and strangers? Those who have borne witness before the church of thy love. Borne witness of thy love before the church. Now notice here, you have two modifiers that tells to whom he doest whatever. And notice they're done in a bracket, like that. And then you have a finite verb clause, which modifies both of these. So the best way to show that it modifies both of these is to take it, the modifying line off of here. And if you can envision a bunch of water pipes, water's coming down here, and it comes in here, so it goes down here, it goes here, it goes here. This water goes up there. You follow what I'm doing? It shows that this goes with both of these nouns. He's writing to brethren. That's what they are to John. John knows them. And to strangers, that's what they are to Gaius. He doesn't know, but he knows that John sent them. And they have been there, and they've done witness there, and they've come back to Ephesus and gave a witness before the church at Ephesus of Gaius's assistance to them in their ministry. All right, verse 6, a conditional sentence. If, and you want to put the if out to the side so that you see immediately that this is a conditional sentence. If thou bring forward whom? Where are you going to bring them forward to? On their journey. How are you going to do it? After a godly sort. Treat them as if they were God himself. It's terrible when ministers think of themselves that they're God. That's terrible. But when you hear a minister speak, if he preaches the word of God as God says it, then you've heard God speak. So you're supposed to treat him as a minister of God after a godly sort. So if you do this, then, you have to supply the then, thou shalt do well. Okay? So it's good to be nice to God's ministers. All right, if you do that, then you're doing well. Why? Because they went forth. Now, in English, that's two words, went forth, so it's part of the verb. In the Greek language, it's just one word, one verb, and you don't have a problem of what do you do with forth, because it could be treated as if it were an adverb telling where they went. So I don't care which way you do it. The end result is essentially the same, but you don't want to do it both ways, as I've done here just for purposes of showing you. They went forth. Why did they go forth? They went forth for his name's sake. And how did they go forth? They went forth taking nothing of the Gentiles. And there's a figure of speech. He's not talking about Gentiles per se. He's probably writing to them. But he's talking about those who are unsaved. That he calls them Gentiles. They don't know God. They don't know God. And that's what the characteristic of Gentiles. All right? Verse 8. Therefore. Of course, you are familiar with the statement that whenever you see a therefore, look carefully to see what the therefore is there for. Remember that? So here's a reason. All right? Therefore, we ought to receive such. Here is an infinitive that is a complementary infinitive. It complements this verb, which is incomplete so far as its understanding is concerned. When you say we ought what? We ought to go, we ought to give, we ought to die, we ought to live. What ought we to do? This complements and finishes what the ought is. We ought to receive. So the verb is ought to receive. And such is the object of the verb ought to receive. It is not the direct object of the infinitive, as you might have drawn it, but it is the object of the verb ought to receive. We ought to receive such. Why? That we might be helpers, fellow helpers to the truth. In other words, we ought to receive those ministers that John has sent forth because God accounts to our account whatever God does through them and through their ministry, because we helped them and made it possible for them to do it. All right? We ought to receive such. Verse 9. Notice the change in subject here. I wrote unto the church, but there's a problem. But Diotrephes receiveth not us. What Diotrephes? The Diotrephes who loveth to have the preeminence among them. That Diotrephes does not receive us. He doesn't honor the Apostle John. He doesn't take in the messengers that John sent either. Notice your attitude towards God's messengers is indicative of your attitude towards God. See? So Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, he wants to be the boss. But he doesn't want to have anything to do with John's authority. Then we come to verse 10, which is the hardest part, but it really is simple when you realize that it is a conditional sentence. Wherefore, which is like a therefore. Wherefore, did I get it on the screen? Yes, okay. If I come, then I will remember his deeds. Isn't that simple? Yeah, say that simple. And that's the basic part of the verb, of the sentence. The rest of it is where the rest of the words go. They all describe the deeds. I will remember his deeds. His deeds he doeth which. Yes, those are the deeds he's going to remember. And what are the deeds that he doeth which? That up there. Prating against us with malicious words. This word is cancerous, actually. He maligns the apostles' authority, prating against us with malicious words. And neither doth he receive the brethren for himself. And why doesn't he receive the brethren? Because he's not content with that. That is maligning the apostle. He's not content with that. He mistreats the apostles' representatives. So what does he do? This is his deeds against the apostle. And he forbiddeth them that would. These are his deeds against the people of his church. He forbids the ones who would entertain John's messengers, and he casteth them out of the church. Isn't that pretty? Say that's pretty. You didn't say it.
Very
All right, we'll talk about that in just a minute some more. Then here is a key word coming up. Beloved. Follow not that which is evil, but follow that which is good. And who is the one what is good and what is evil? He that doeth good is of God. But he that doeth evil, that doesn't receive the apostles' delegates, has not seen God. And talking about Diotrephes, who's a fine Christian man, he just doesn't know Jesus as his Savior, that's all. All right?
A fine Christian man.
And now he introduces the one that does the good. And here he comes. Demetrius hath good report. Good report from whom? Of all men and of the truth itself. And not only of all men and of the truth of the Word of God, but also the apostle. And we bear witness also, and you know that our witness is true. Notice the shift between 12 and 13. Notice the ye's, we's. Okay? And now verse 13. I had many things to write. Things is the subject of the infinitive. I had things, and how many did he have? Many things to write. But I will not write unto thee with ink and pen, because he's going to do something else. But I trust that I shall see thee shortly. And when I see thee shortly, we shall speak face to face. And then notice the shift in subject again. Peace be to thee. Our friends greet thee. Everybody should have been able to diagram this one. You greet the friends by name. In some texts, 3 John has 15 verses. These last three verbs, three clauses are verse 15. All right. Wasn't that wonderful? Say that was wonderful. You don't sound very convincing. I didn't hear you say anything, Chris.
That's because I'm dizzy.
Oh, you said you're dizzy.
Yeah, flipped them so quick.
I know it. We're going to take some time now. All right. Now, we're going to go back through that, and we're going to take time for you to ask questions. But please don't ask a question that I've already answered. You didn't get that. Oh. All right. The elder writes unto Gaius, the well-beloved, I love whom in the truth. Any questions on verse 1? This is pretty dry stuff, so I gotta get Any questions on verse 1? Are you ready for verse 2? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, good. You're doing well. We've got to get through this because you're going to need what I've got to tell you in order to do the verse, the next assignment. Beloved, I wish that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. That's right. Any questions on verse? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are these diagrams according to the Schofield King James?
A little louder.
Are these diagrams according to the Schofield King James?
Yeah, according to my Schofield King James, anyway.
Because the Schofield King James doesn't match up with other King Jameses, and it has words in it that aren't in other ones, like good.
Like what?
Good in this verse isn't in other King James Bibles.
You don't have this
No.
at all? Well, okay. Diagram what you got.
Okay.
Yes.
I had a question about the Greek. I guess the suke. It's in this.
A little louder.
I think in the I was doing mine in Greek, and the one with the.
Did you do yours in Greek?
I did.
Anybody else do his in Greek? Okay, I got something for you. Come on up. Oh, shoot. I don't have it for you. I didn't bring my big... Israel. Here the key to my office is. And on there's a big fat folder with a lot of these transparencies all in separate folder. Third. I'll have something for you in just a little bit. Any other questions about verse 2? You ready for verse 3? Hello?
Yes.
All right. You guys are doing very, very well. For I rejoiced greatly
41.
When the brethren came and testified of the truth that is in thee, even as thou walkest in the truth. Any questions about verse 3? Any questions about verse 3? Are you ready for 4? Yes. Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right, hearing no protest, I assume we are. All right. Verse 4, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in the truth. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're a good man. Oh, there's my good one. Oh, I thought I'd have it. Oh, shoot. Don't have it here. I thought I had my Greek diagrams here. I got them somewhere, but I thought they were in this folder. If you can see me afterwards, I got the Greek diagrams. I'll have to find what folder they're in. Thought they were there. All right, any question on verse 4? Are you ready for 5?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Sure thing.
All right. Beloved, thou doest faithfully, thou doest whatever, to brethren and to strangers who have borne witness of thy love before the church. Yes, sir.
Why is the first part of verse 6 on the verse 5 page? Should we?
Because it goes together with it grammatically. Remember, the verse divisions, versification was not done by the Apostle John. So you have to diagram it according to the sense of the first few words of 6 do indeed go with verse 5. So you diagram it that way. But you make a notation that you've done it right here, see? All right, any question on 6? 5 and first part of 6? You ready for verse 6? Yeah, ready? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. If thou bring forward whom on their journey after a godly sort, thou shalt do well. Now, in the way the text reads, this is the apodosis. This is the prodosis, thank you. The prodosis. But it is adverbially dependent upon the apodosis. So you could diagram it this way and put it on a still, but this modifies actually the verb of the apodosis. You follow what I'm saying? Right. So if thou bring forward whom on the after a godly sort, then thou shalt do well. But this is the prodosis right here, and this goes down here if you diagram it straightforward grammatically. Follow that? Okay. Any question? Ready for 7? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You better speak up if you haven't. If you aren't ready for it. Because they went forth put forth in one or the other places, preferably is with the verb, because it is a part of the verb, and in the Greek text there's only one word. They went forth for the sake, for namesake, his namesake. And how did they go forth? They weren't supported by unbelievers, taking nothing of the Gentiles. Okay. Any questions on 7? You ready for 8?
Yes.
Yeah, hear one yes.
Yes.
And no other protests? Very good. You all are doing well this week. Therefore, we ought to receive such. That, and why should we receive them? That we might be fellow helpers to the truth. So you want to be hospitable to God's messengers, because God will accredit to your account what he does through them if you have supported them. The good mission verse for support missions, support the pastor, support ministers of God who have given their lives in order to be a spiritual service to you. Any questions on 8? You ready for 9?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm.
Okay. Good. I wrote unto the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, among the church that is, does not receive us, receiveth not us. Yes, sir.
In verse 8, you have the infinitive.
In verse 8, I had what?
Well, it's comparing the two. In verse 8, you have the object of the infinitive on the main line. And in this one, on the second clause of that, you have who love to have preeminence as the object. You have it on the infinitive line. Which one would you?
Okay, I'm not getting it. What do I have in verse 8?
You see where such is? Such is the object of
Yes.
ought to receive, and you have it on the main verb line.
Yeah.
If you look at 9, on the second clause, or the second half, you have to have, and then you have who love to have, and then, oh, I know most of it.
I'm not following you.
Never mind, I saw it. It's,
You saw it?
yeah, I didn't see the to have is actually part of the object as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, any questions about 9?
Got a question?
Yes, ma'am.
My version says loves to be first. Would first go under to be, or would it be the direct opposite?
Loveth to have This is not a complementary infinitive, it's the direct object of this verb. This is what he loves. He loves to have preeminence.
Well, my version says to be first. He loves to be first. Would first be where preeminence is?
Okay, you put up here to be, the slash mark first. It'd be a slash mark because of the verb to be.
Okay.
All right? Did I see another hand back there? I guess I did. All right, verse 10, which is a doozy. Wherefore, I put the wherefore up there so we can kind of get it all in. Wherefore, if I come, and this is literally a third-class conditional sentence, so it's therefore, when I come, then I will remember his deeds. I will remember his deeds. What are his deeds? The deeds he doeth which? And how does he doeth them? The rest of this modifies the verb do, doeth. First of all, against the apostle. He maligns the apostle with cancerous words. And it's against the missionaries. He doesn't receive them, that is, he doesn't entertain them. Why does he not do that? Because he's not content with maligning the apostle. So these are towards the apostle and the missionaries, and then towards his church members. He hinders the ones that want to entertain the apostolic delegates, and he casts them out of the church. He excommunicates them. So he's acting with great authority. He thinks he's really somebody. He just isn't a believer, and hence does not have any sympathy for the preacher, or for the apostles, or for the ministers. Any questions about 10? Yes, ma'am. Sir.
What is, like, can you explain that and neither?
Explain this.
Above it. The
And neither?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
This is a conjunction, and he does not receive the brethren for himself, and neither, let me see. Let me see. Oh no, he goes, he speaks and prating against us with malicious words, and he does not receive the brethren, and neither doth he receive the brethren for himself. So this is a what's kind of conjunction that it is, not a correlative.